skin, so gorgeous. We thank the life gorgeous. Thank the life gorgeous. I love the life gorgeous. Its torso is so tight.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Life Gorgeous. My name is Craigers, Mr. Kilborn. This is where I share my magical life in hopes of improving your life. Special guest, he's a friend of mine. He is from the great state of Minnesota. He used to write for the Associated Press. Now he writes for The Athletic. His name is Jon Krawczynski. People know him as Jonny Athletic. Say hello. Hey, brother.
Craigers, how are we?
I'm doing well. I like last time I talked to you, you were at in the bowels of Target Center.
That's right.
Where are you now? is that a door behind you?
It is. I'm at my house in lovely St. Anthony Village, and these are pocket doors from the old days. This is an old farmhouse from the area, and so it's a nice little bit of charm here. And it also acts as a buffer. My wife's office is on the other side, and so nice little buffer there for everyone.
I'm in my mahogany panel den, and the entrance, in fact, are pocket doors. And I like to joke that on weekends I don't do my late night show, but I still make grand entrances into the living room from the den. What year is your house? Mine is 1923. What about yours?
It is 1939.
Okay.
So,
cool.
Yep. So similar, not quite as old as yours, but we're in the same vintage.
I find it more enjoyable to imbibe with a scotch or a martini in a house, a pre-war house, 1940 or earlier, than something built in the 60s. Well, the 60s can be fun if it's mid-century, but you know what I'm saying? Like the newer houses, it doesn't have the character when you have a single malt scotch.
It absolutely doesn't. I'll pour a glass of wine and I'll contemplate life's mysteries in this farmhouse, and I feel like I'm tethered to history around here, which is nice. Yeah,
I love the architecture in both St. Paul and Minneapolis. We're going to talk a little bit about that later, but let's see what we have. So your very popular nickname, Jonny Athletic. How many columns do you write a week? I did read your column this morning, the one on Rudy Gobert. He's feeling healthy. How many columns do you write, sir?
In season, about 3 to 4
a week. 3 to 4 a week.
Yep. Yep. And I'll kind of fluctuate a little bit. It depends on if I have a longer one, a bigger one. I might go 2 in a week, but generally, especially right now, as you know, Kilby, with the appetite for the Wolvies and the fever growing, I'm trying to feed the masses as much as I can right now.
I have a quick note before we get into the sports. I wanted you to know, I don't know if you call it X or Twitter, but I'm not on it.
Mm-hmm.
You are. I enjoy your comments, your tweets during the ball games. If you have a typo, and this is for everyone, you can delete and repost, correct?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. And I will say that it is a hard decision sometimes, because like if I don't recognize the typo right away, but that tweet is getting engagement.
Sure. Then you just leave it up there.
And you leave it up there and let it go. I had one just the other day.
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
I'm the moment.
Yeah.
Yep. And so, and it just, oh man, as a writer, it just kills me when I see it. But then, man, people are taking off with this thing, so I kind of got to leave it and let it go. Yeah. But I got to have personal accountability, and sometimes you just got to wear it, and that's what I do sometimes.
Okay, so the question for you, I'm going to give you some control here, although I may take it back depending upon it. But what do you want to start with, sir? The Vikings or the Timberwolves?
I feel like, they're both incredibly compelling right now, but it feels like the Wolves, Kilby, are. Man, this is sustainable. Like the Vikings, we can talk about, and it's super fun. I wonder how much you can replicate what we saw in the Atlanta game.
Right. We're gonna talk about that. Okay, so you want to start Wolves?
The Wolves feel real.
So in my notes, I have the Vikings first, but I can scan down and look at the Timberwolves. But that's fine.
You're always great at adapting.
So Timberwolves pride. I think we talked prior to the year. I get all you local guys mixed up. I'm kidding. But I wanted us to finish top 4 in the West. That means we have home court. And we know how competitive the West is. And we know there are a lot of intangibles. You never know who's going to be good or bad or, or who's going to trade for James Harden. But anyway, so we're off to a good start, except we haven't won on the road yet. We're recording this the day after they beat New Orleans, but this will air after we play the first game against Golden State. This will air next Tuesday. So first thing is, it appears, and this is what you wrote about this morning in The Athletic, is that Rudy is on fire defensively, and he's playing well offensively, except for the hiccup in the free throws against Boston. But he's moving really well. Is he just healthy? Is that all it is?
I think it's two things, Kilby. I think he's healthy, first of all. That's the most important thing. He came into last season after the European Championships, and I think his knees were bothering him. I think his back was a little bit sore. And you could see that he was just not moving well at all. I mean, he was slow to react on things. He couldn't elevate like he normally does. And so he wasn't challenging shots. He wasn't, doing all of the things that make Rudy Gobert. This season, you watch him go up and catch lob passes from Cat. I mean, he's elevated. Yeah. He's getting up for those things. And he's just moving quickly. He's getting out on the perimeter.
Yeah.
He feels good about that. And so I think physically he's healthy. But I think mostly it's mental. He's much more comfortable with the people around him. He knows where they're going to be. He's not second guessing things. And so he's moving much more on his instincts.
Right.
And I think that helps a lot too.
Does he miss D'Lo?
He does. I don't think he's shedding some tears for D'Lo. Every time we ask him about Mike Conley, he waxes philosophic and poetic. So I think that tells you all you need to know.
Here was my thing. Because I obviously I saw him play in Utah, but not every night. So I saw something in the preseason and I was like, oh boy, but it's only a preseason game. I saw Mitchell Robinson twice out quick him for 2 defensive rebounds. And that's what happened last year in Game 5 at Denver. We could have forced a Game 6 if he would have grabbed 2 defensive rebounds, and he was right there. And then I'm thinking, wait, is he that slow sometimes? Because he's good, but is he slow or what? But I'm not noticing it right now. But he does move at his own speed, obviously.
Yes, he's not a pterodactyl. He's not the Giannis.
Yeah.
Like he's not that kind of guy.
Right.
So I think he does rely on positioning, on being in the right spot at the right time as much as he does any athleticism or things of that nature. And so I think that now he just knows where he can be. I think last year he felt like he had to cover everyone's man.
Right.
And there were times where guys would beat someone backdoor and he would be slow to come over and then they'd throw a little lob and it's, right on him. And it looks really bad.
Right.
And so I just think that right now, and he's got Jaden McDaniels with him. Ant looks good defensively. Carl's actually playing well defensively.
He is.
Yeah. So I just think that as a group, everyone knows where they have to be.
Right.
And I think that's really important for Rudy in particular.
Quick side note for the people watching on YouTube, people might be wondering what I'm wearing. I haven't worn a t-shirt yet on The Life Gorgeous. I am today with a bandana around here. It might look like an ascot. And I believe John is wearing a powder blue pullover and a St. John's t-shirt underneath.
Hey, I'm St. Thomas.
St. Thomas. Sorry. Yeah. I said, why I said St. John's? Because it's red. And I was thinking of the red men in New York.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, hey, St. Thomas was blue and white, right? Does that sound right?
Purple and gray.
I love how I was thinking of navy, blue and white. Okay. So Finchie has slowed down the pace a little bit as, how he wanted to be high in pace, push the ball. But I don't think he's as concerned because somehow, some way, we have the number 1 defense currently in the NBA. So is he not, pace of play is not as important to him now?
Yeah, I think he's adapted to this roster. I don't think it's a roster that wants to run and gun.
Yeah.
If you try and get out and transition and win a track meet, that's not where they're going to excel. I mean, Conley doesn't do that. Cat, Rudy don't do that. Ant would, but it's just he's one of one.
Right.
So when you look at their numbers, not only defensively, but half court offense, they're good. Like if they run sets and they get the ball moving. So rather than really emphasizing fast pace, get up and down, Finchie's really kind of more on, I want you to play with pace in the half court. I want the ball moving quickly. I want you cutting.
Right.
I want you creating for your teammates. And so that's been the more of the emphasis on pace and not so much on getting out in transition and throwing balls off of the backboard and dunking like we saw last night with Alexander Walker and Ant.
That was hilarious. I mean, last night, obviously we have to win. Those are the kind of games last year, sometimes we don't concentrate. We still had 17 turnovers. I'm not a big fan of turnovers. 24 against the Celtics, but that was a sloppy game, but it was a magical game for so many reasons. And I'm going to ask you about it. But last night, so the uniforms, everyone is talking about the throwbacks. I love them. That's a special kind of green. And I like to say words like pistachio or seafoam. I don't know what it is, but it's a nice green. And I remember those uniforms. Now, what's the story? Are those just occasionally going to be worn or what?
Yeah, it's the 35th anniversary season, so they're doing a throwback kind of thing. And I think I don't know how many times, but they're sprinkling in those jerseys, both on the road and at home throughout this season.
Yeah.
Every once in a while. And one of the cool things about when they do them at home, Kilby, is like you have the court too.
Yeah.
You have old Shep on, in the center court, and man, it just looks clean.
Yeah.
It looks crisp.
Yeah.
And it harkens back to a day when the team was not good at all. But man, there's some warm feelings.
Right.
Like people really think back about it. It's pretty fun.
So let's go back to Monday night. Huge game. Celtic Pride, number one team in the league, undefeated. You were there, correct?
I was there.
I heard it was electric. Is that true?
It was. I mean, it was as loud as a early season, regular season game I can ever remember at Target Center.
Right.
I think it came from both teams were playing really hard.
Right.
Like they just went at each other. There was a lot of intensity.
Yeah.
And it was back and forth. And, you always wonder about with the NBA, one of the issues, 82 games, do teams care? Are they putting it all in? Well, both teams threw it all on the floor in that game. And that place was packed. Everyone was on their feet in the fourth quarter and overtime. And it was erupting all of the time. So it was a heck of an environment.
And it was a Monday night. It wasn't a Saturday night.
Monday nighter. Yeah. No, it was, during the week. Like you never see that at Target Center. Right. And so I think the Denver win, the previous week got fans to kind of, oh, okay, maybe there is something here. And then they knew Boston had the number one offense. They knew that the Wolves had the number one defense.
Yeah.
So they went in and they brought playoff caliber intensity, and it was a lot of fun.
Let me ask you, Jordan McLaughlin, who I like, he didn't have a good year last year, wasn't fully healthy, but when he does play well, he has a very good floor game. I like him. Now he's out a month, and these kind of things will wear you out a little bit. You got Conley, you're going to have some other guys playing point like Nickeil Alexander-Walker will bring the ball up, and they won't have a true point guard. No way Dacian Nix gets any run, correct? He's not. No, he's not ready.
He's not ready. He's young. They're trying to win all these games.
Sure.
It's going to be veterans. So had 8 assists in the Pelicans game. So that was something.
Yeah.
I think they really want Shake Milton to get going.
So do I.
A little bit. He has not played well. He hit some shots against the Pelicans, but other than that, he hasn't played well. And so if that could happen, that would help alleviate some of the concern, because J-Mac was not really in the rotation.
Right.
He was kind of a case of emergency break glass and played really well when he did. And how about Kilby, like the Kobe, like he sprains his MCL.
I know.
Still goes to the free throw line, knocks down 2 free throws in a tie game.
Yeah.
That was big. That was big time for him.
Yeah, that was impressive. I think he's playing back to his form from 2 years ago. So I want to get him back, because what I think is sometimes in these games, some guys are struggling. Like he might only play every 3 or 4 games, but he'll bring something when you need it in a certain game. It's like, thank God we have him, because after Conley, he's a true point guard. Okay, buddy, Cat, let's go. Cat. So people, I've changed my mind over the last couple days. And I think I heard you on Barrero yesterday. Maybe that's one of the things I was thinking about. But after Monday, he was frustrating everybody again. A talented guy, max player, had an awful game. I think he had 10 boards, but a lot of turnovers. But it's the body language, the whining, the complaining, which drags people down, and we're worried about the effect on the teammates. So what do you think about Cat? And do you privately, Jon, as you're sitting there, pocket doors are closed, you're sipping wine, do you ever say, maybe we should trade him?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not there yet. As you know, I think I'm generally a Cat guy, much to the consternation of many Wolves fans, who want him just out of here as soon as possible. I think that one of the bright spots of this season so far, and them playing so well, is that Cat has not played well in general. And so imagine what happens if he starts shooting the ball like we know he can.
Right.
I think that if that element comes around, which it will, like he's never shot this poorly in his life. And so those numbers will even out. He was 9 for 12 against the Pelicans. That was good. And so if you have that element added on to this defense, added on to Ant, added on to everything else that they have going for them, now all of a sudden you become a team that can't just, win a series or two, but can be real dangerous. And so, they are weathering a period right now. He is uncomfortable. He does not look like he knows where he's supposed to be or how he's supposed to get his shots and everything. And he's so frantic.
Yeah.
A lot. And I think it's all uncomfortable. But if you trade him, I just think I have a hard time feeling like they're going to get enough value back immediately to help this team really be a damage. And so I want to give it at least play a lot more time and see if he can settle in and find a rhythm, because that's the key to me of this team becoming really something interesting.
So like you, I'm a Cat fan. So what I do is this is my attitude now. I'm forgetting that he's a max player.
Yeah.
And it's basically, he's going to have some good games. He's going to be inconsistent. That's what bothers me. But I think he's a stud offensively. I know he can rebound. I'm very pleased with his D, but offensively he's struggling. And I just know he went 4 or 5 on threes last night. I know he's going to break out of his slump. So my thing is, we need him. And when he's playing poorly, just sub him out. Shouldn't have to do that with a max player, but he's the kind of guy that can do what he did in Game 5 at Denver, where Aaron Gordon couldn't guard him. So in other words, I think that's what's going to happen. He is going to be up and down for a while, and that's who he is. Now he can control the whining and complaining. I'm sure everyone talks to him. I'm sure you've pulled him aside. Have you?
Yes.
Have you, Jon?
We've talked about it. Yeah. I mean, I haven't like browbeat him on it, but we've had conversations.
What does he say? What does he say?
He is a very prideful guy, and he does not, when he feels he is being wronged, he's not one to just kind of take it lying down, even when he's not being wronged.
Yeah.
So, but your point is right, Kilby, in terms of right now, what this team needs to look at with how they've played and how the West shakes out is they need to look at Denver as the team to beat. Like that's their one. And the player who makes them incredibly hard for the Nuggets to match up with is Cat.
Exactly.
And so that is the mountain you're trying to climb. And so at their best, they can beat Denver when they have the two bigs going up front, when Ant is going off and all of that. And I don't think that the Nuggets necessarily have an answer for that. You will have to put up with some highs and lows. You will have to kind of try to get him to control and calm down a little bit and things like that. But the ceiling for it is much higher if you have him in there and you have him beating up Aaron Gordon in the post. You have him guarding Nikola Jokic, which he did. And you have Rudy roaming. Like the Nuggets have a hard time with that. And so that's what should be the measuring stick right now.
Yeah. And even though he might struggle and does struggle, he causes Drew Holiday to guard him and not guard Ant.
Right.
He draws attention even when he's struggling. So I've kind of come around, and I may change. I have the freedom to change my mind at any time. As Jeff Van Gundy said, one of my greatest rights as a man is the freedom to change my mind. And there's not a lot of pressure on me when I do that. The other thing I wanted to say is I remember years ago with the great late Flip Saunders, and I was with the coaching staff. We were going out for dinner, and I said, KG, sometimes he'll line drive his free throw, and he should put a little more arc on it. And Randy Whitman said, "You want to talk to him about that?" And I understand that not everyone can talk to KG about his free throw, or can talk to Cat about certain things. You, of course, have a way about yourself. So what Cat did last night, he made his first three because he didn't fling it up right away. He took it. He just steadied himself for a half a second. Sometimes he catches and shoots, and you can only do that when you've already hit three in a row. Tell him just to pause a little bit, look at the rim, and then let that baby fly. Because he's a pure shooter, and I know pure shooters. So can you have that conversation, and how will you do it? Where will it take place?
Well, I'm going out to Golden State for Sunday and the Tuesday games. Maybe we break bread while I'm out there and try and have a nice meal on that Monday off day and really just cut open a vein and see if we can get to the bottom of it. I might have to try it.
Go to Bix, BIX. It's near the Transamerica building. It's on Gold Street. It's been around for a long time. They won't have it on Monday, but they have a jazz trio. But it's a beautiful old space called Bix, BIX. Let's see if I recommend anything else. The other place I know is closed right now that I like. There are a lot of good places. It's a great city for food. What are you predicting for the Wolves? You think they're going to finish top 4 in the West if they stay healthy?
I think so.
Yeah,
I do. And it was kind of Tim Connolly at Media Day before the season started said the goal is to win a series. Like that should be where
advance
we start
to the second round. Yeah.
And Kilby, I've covered this team. This is my 20th season. And I have not often heard that as a measuring stick. And so it kind of threw me off for a little bit, like, holy cow. But then you watch the way this team is playing, but more so just kind of the vibes around them and the way that they're going about their business.
Yeah.
I absolutely think that they have the talent to be top 4. And then you get the right matchup in the first round.
Yeah.
And look out, because they have so much talent from 1 through 9 or 10 that they can match up. They're versatile. And as long as they keep their heads on straight, everything is right there for them.
Yeah, I sometimes worry. I worry about their shooting. It hasn't been an issue right now. But I don't consider Ant a pure shooter. I consider Cat the only real pure shooter. I love that Jaden is playing well, but he can start off 1 for 9 and then hit a bunch of shots. But I always think about how Jamal Murray, gets hot, and you have Clay and Steph who are pure, and we haven't really seen the Phoenix Suns with the 3 guys yet healthy. But that's one of my concerns. But it hasn't. I mean, in the back of my mind, I just say, like when we play the Nets, they have some pure shooters on that team. So hopefully that's not an issue. I was going to tell you, as far as advancing to the second round, back in the late 80s, when I lived out here, I moved out here, and it was the Showtime era with the Lakers and at the Forum. And I was like, these fans are obnoxious because it's a social event to go to the Forum, and they save their best outfits for the finals. They have these. But Johnny, I have the greatest sport coat that I'm saving for the second round, and I just hope I get to pull it out this year. You know what I'm saying?
Oh man, absolutely! I can't wait to see it. I cannot wait to see it.
Question for you. I'm a A-Rod fan, and I'm a Mark Lowry fan. I think they've added some juice to the team. First of all, when the Rudy trade happened, everyone was thrown off by the compensation, including myself. Although, thank God they didn't get Jaden McDaniels. And my joke was, hey, Danny Ainge, how do you make that trade and not get Jaden McDaniels, who's a stud? Do you know how much of the Rudy trade was Mark Lowry and A-Rod and Glenn Taylor, or Tim Conley?
From the way I understand it is certainly coming off of the making the playoffs, losing to Memphis in the first round. There was a lot of fan energy, a lot of enthusiasm. People liked that team, but there was some thirst from ownership to make a move, to go. And they went and got Tim Conley.
Right.
That was their first big move.
Right.
Like they said, okay, let's take this up a notch. And so they got Tim. And then I think there was it wasn't an edict. They didn't say, go get somebody, but they said, be aggressive. Like, we want you to come in here and look at this as a team that we think is on the brink of being a contender, and we want to capitalize on it. And so Tim Conley was certainly the one who canvassed the league and looked at available deals and saw, what was there. And he liked the idea of bringing in Rudy Gobert. But when I think he brought that option to them, they were gung ho about it.
Right.
He kind of, Tim went over the analytics of Rudy and the efficiency and all of those things. Mark Lowry was very excited. Alex Rodriguez was very excited. Glenn Taylor was excited as well because he was viewing it as, I'm getting down to the last days of my majority ownership and I want to go out, on a high note. And so I think that the owners were very involved and very enthusiastic about it and wanted to get something done that they thought could get this team to another level.
Glenn can only get so excited now. I mean, he's had so much of that, of Becky's lasagna, that it's just like,
it does weigh you down a little bit,
weighs you
right?
down.
Carbs.
For those people who don't know Tim Connolly, he is the president. Is that his title? The president of basketball operations. He is the highest paid non-athlete in Minnesota, along with Dan Barrero and Charlie Swanson.
That is true. Confirmed.
Yeah. Remember I told Barrero, I said, you get paid Vikings offensive lineman money. He's making, Garrett Bradbury money. So, one more question about the Wolves, and then we're switching to your Minnesota Vikings. When's the date for the next step for A-Rod and Mark Lowry to become majority owners, and how's that going?
It's December 31st is they have to exercise their option to buy the final 40%. And then I think they have to close on that deal by sometime mid-March.
Okay.
And so it's coming up, and all signs are pointing that it's going to get done, that they are going to meet their obligations and go forward with it. But that'll be here before we know it here. And they've been working a lot behind the scenes to make sure that the transition goes smoothly. And so I think, by March, they'll be officially majority owners, and maybe by the end of the season, it'll kind of be the full changing of the guard, passing the baton, whatever you like. So
very exciting. I've been following the Wolves when you were still in grade school. Okay, we'll start with Josh Dobbs, and then we'll move to some other things. But what happened? You remember what happened with Herschel Walker's first game as a Viking?
Oh yeah, kicked the shoe off.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And he had 148 yards.
Yeah,
and it was his best game.
Yes,
he didn't do anything after that. Very little.
No, it was downhill.
So I don't want Josh Dobbs' best game to be that adrenaline-fueled win down in Atlanta. It was pretty amazing. I mean, we've heard all the storylines, and it's crazy what happened. Do you remember the 4th and 7 run? Prior to that, this is on the winning drive, the third down pass. Do you remember the third down pass where it sailed over the guy? He rolled out right, and it sailed. So I know he's a backup. I know he turns it over. So what can we expect from him going forward? How consistent will he be? I think mainly I want to ask with his passing.
Yeah, I mean, I think that if you want to be an optimist, which I think the Life Gorgeous is all about optimism, you can say, look, he did all of that with no time to prepare, with no snaps in practice, with Kevin O'Connell explaining all the plays on the headset while he's going down the field. I mean, so you would think that having a little time to digest the playbook, to be in practice, to work with the coaches, like that should all help him a great deal. He's incredibly smart. He's a rocket scientist. So having more time to prepare should put him in a good spot. So that, I think, it really portends well for going forward. I think Kevin O'Connell is really, really good at preparing quarterbacks to be successful and putting them in the right positions. He has talent around him offensively.
Yes.
So all of that is great. And I think that makes me feel like he can be a good player and a good quarterback for this team. History, though.
Yes.
He's been on a bunch of teams.
Yeah.
It's incredibly rare that a player who is, just unbelievably talented, especially at the quarterback position, gets kicked around to a bunch of different teams and just can't hold on. So there are some things physically that he has not yet shown at the NFL level that Kirk Cousins, Patrick Mahomes, and any of these guys have that hold jobs and are successful in it. So I am interested to see what he looks like as the sample size sort of increases and as teams prepare for him as well.
Yeah, I mean, Favre wasn't he on Atlanta before he went to the Green Bay Packers? So they traded him, but that wasn't multiple teams. That was just like,
no. And he was like, Favre was a partier and a drinker. Josh Dobbs is a rocket scientist
Right.
who is not, I don't think he's exactly living the fast life
Right.
out there. And that's what's held him back.
Yeah.
Is that. So,
well, the other thing is I was very intrigued to see the game because we were all nervous for Jaren Hall. He had a very good second drive.
he looked good.
Yeah, he looked good. Tell me if this makes sense. We know he's mobile. We know he's quick, Jaren Hall. But I think if he ran, I think Josh Dobbs is at a different, like almost Olympic sprinter level of Jaren Hall is shorter, but there's something about the body of Josh Dobbs where when he runs, it's more impressive than when Jaren Hall runs. And obviously these guys both are mobile. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. For two reasons. One is I think Dobbs is a little bigger, so he's a long strider, kind of covers more ground when he goes physically. But also, I do think that him being a bit of a veteran, he's a decisive. When he goes, he's off. Yeah, I think Jaren Hall, understandably, is like, do I run now? Do I not? There's a little bit of hesitation and a little bit of skittishness that he's just working through because he hasn't been in this spot before. But Dobbs, when he saw an opening, boom, he was gone. That was really impressive.
I hope he keeps doing that. I hope it wasn't first game. I'm not going to get through all the progressions here. I'm going now. I hope he continues to run.
Be Joe Webb. Yeah.
Yeah. I texted some people saying before the game, I don't want a Joe Webb playoff game at Green Bay here. But great athlete, Joe Webb. You know what bothers me is I really like Cam Akers. I thought I liked watching him run and kind of be patient. I liked the way he moved. That's unfortunate that he's out now with the Achilles for the season. I guess they're not picking anybody up. By the way, obvious question. I'm sure people have asked you. There's no way the Jets waive Dalvin and he comes back, correct?
I don't think so. I don't see that happening. Yeah. I know Adrian Peterson has been trying to get around. I don't think that's going to happen either. I couldn't agree with you more on Akers. It looked like he was starting to establish himself a little bit.
Right.
And if you see on that last scramble from Dobbs, the block that Akers had, spring him.
That was so great.
I mean, it was unbelievable. So he was doing a little bit of everything. They're going to miss him for sure.
Do you want to start with the Wolves or the Vikings, or how much K-Fan radio pays us for our regular appearances on Barrero?
Please. Maybe we need to form a union of Barrero guests and see if we can negotiate something together here collectively.
When I was really young, my grandfather died. My grandmother had already passed, but they left the three kids. They left us some money. We all got a check, and I was probably 9 years old. And I just remember I added like $100 to it, and I said, "God, I can't believe X amount of money." And my brother and sister were like, "What? You got?" But that's the kind of fun that I was having as a 9-year-old.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
No doubt.
What's your prediction for the Vikings record-wise?
I know that. So Alec Lewis, my athletic counterpart.
Yes.
He says 10-7.
I like that's a kind of a comfortable number. I like 10-7. Yeah.
It feels right because they still have a little bit of softness in the schedule right here in the next couple of weeks. I know New Orleans is pretty good.
New Orleans is good, and I've always liked Derek Carr.
Mm-hmm. But December and January, it gets sticky for them. So you got to play Detroit, you got to play Green Bay again, and I know Green Bay isn't very good, but like you never know in those kinds of games. So there's a couple of toss-up games.
I think are we at Bengals? Cincinnati? Are we?
At Cincinnati, and they look really good.
Yeah.
So 10-7, I think that feels right for me, and that would be a heck of a finish considering where they started.
No way we win the division.
No, I think it's Detroit. Yeah. I mean, they're really good,
right?
And they got out to a better start, and I like that team a lot. I mean, defensively, offensively, I think they're talented, so I think they're going to get it.
So I had a little issue. I like Kevin O'Connell a lot, and of course, I want to like him a lot. I was a big Zim fan. After the Chicago game this year, I was really frustrated. I didn't like our offense in the second half and all that stuff. But now, of course, what he did down in Atlanta was amazing, along with Josh Dobbs. What's the consensus on him as a play caller?
So I think that there's a lot of respect for what he does with his system and his schemes and all those things. And I think the players really believe that O'Connell is great at game planning and getting them ready to face whatever defense they're going to and exploit weaknesses. I think that if there is a negative so far, sometimes it seems like he gets a little bit excited, maybe a little cocky, and like tries to flex with some sort of
Trick play?
exotic play. That's just like, is this the time for that?
Yeah.
KOC?
Yeah.
You know, like that's kind of those are the kinds of things that I've wondered about every once in a while. Is just like, did you really need the Jordan Addison pass right there?
Right.
Like sometimes I think it feels like he wants to show how creative he is and all of that, and maybe it bites him a little bit. But by and large, I think he's got a good scheme, a good system, a good feel for the game. I think clock management, time management sometimes is an issue for him.
Yeah.
But the players love him. They think that, you know, they run through a wall for him. They think he's great.
Yeah, his play calling will get a little exotic. It's probably like when you used to cover Isaiah Ryder. Just lay the ball in. There's no reason to.
Yeah.
Were you working when he was playing for the Wolves?
I was not. Okay. I was not. Unfortunately, I missed that, but I would have loved to cover that guy because he had some adventures for sure.
Before I forget, I think I asked you this last time, but I always like to repeat it. But when you're questioning and interviewing these both coaches and players, but do the players ever get irritated with you? Like, hey man, I'm trying. I'm in a slump. Back off.
Yeah. Sometimes they do. And what I take very big pains to try and be as respectful as possible in those situations. Because the last thing I want to do is like, hey, why didn't you do this? And I'm a 5'7" kid from suburban Minneapolis trying to tell these guys, you know, what the right thing to do is. I do not ever take that sort of tact with them. So I try to be respectful and do it. But these are high pressure situations. These guys are under a lot of scrutiny. And so when things are not going well and you're having to ask them about it, some guys, they get ornery and they snap. And, you know, that's the nature of the game. And I never take it personally. It happens every once in a while, not as much as it used to, but yeah, every once in a while there's either a snap at me or no, I'm not talking today. I'm not doing it. Like, and just not going through with it.
How was D'Lo?
He could be incredibly engaging and charismatic and like intelligent and super interesting to talk to. And then there are days where he was really flighty and really, you know, you just couldn't say anything that would get him to open up and do anything. So you rode a roller coaster with him. And I always found him really intelligent. Like when he would open up and just kind of want to talk basketball, like really smart. And I enjoyed it. But there were times too where it's just like, nope, today's not a D'Lo day. He doesn't. There's nothing you can say to get him to open up.
You mentioned roller coaster. Who sang "Love Roller Coaster"?
Ooh, that's I don't know about that one.
Should be it's the Ohio Players.
The Ohio Players.
You remember them?
I've heard of them.
Yeah, you're just too young to remember them. Great album covers. B-Flow. Speaking of, we're going from B-Flow to B-Flow. So I love Brian Flores, defensive coordinator. I mean, just amazing. It's just, I like watching defenses and I'm really enjoying it. My concern is that he stays a couple years at least. Do you have any inkling on how long he'll be here?
To me, like this will be super interesting because he has done such a great job and he would be a perfect candidate to get another job somewhere else. But he sued the NFL. Yeah. And generally owners don't really take kindly to that kind of tact and that kind of litigation. So I don't know if that complicates his ability to be hired as a head coach again. I don't know if that makes people hesitant. The one other thing that probably is working against him is he's a defensive guy. Right. And I mean, everyone just seems to be enamored with the next hot young offensive mind. And that's what so many people want these days.
Wes Phillips. Yeah. And, you know, like anything like that would be interesting. So I think that they have a chance to at least hold him for another year or two, which he's been phenomenal. I mean, you and I talked before the season and I wondered how much of this was Donatel's scheme, how much of it was just a lack of talent around him, on the team. And B-Flow has coached these guys up. He's blitzing the heck out of everybody. And to get this defense playing like that without any real like major changes, big free agent signings or first round draft picks that have come in and just lit the world on fire. Yeah.
He's been incredible. He's been incredible.
Wait until Marcus Davenport gets healthy.
Right? Yeah. Then it's just, purple people eaters all over again.
He was sensitive. Did you see any of his interviews or not? When he,
I didn't see when he got hurt. Yeah.
Well, when he came back and had a good game at Carolina, he goes, "I'm mad at you guys, the media. I heard all the stuff, and but my teammates talked to me, and then he gets hurt again. But no, we love you, man. Just get healthy because we're trying to win over here.
And he was good when he was on the field.
He was so
really good.
Yeah, he was very good. Okay, I have a theory or a thought process on what the Vikings should do at quarterback. I'm going to let you go first because I'm a good host. You're the guest.
Yeah.
Tell me what you think in the offseason the Vikings should do with the quarterback position.
Oddly enough, I think that Cousins' injury may actually ensure that he comes back here.
Because he'll get it'll be more
might
affordable.
Be a little bit lower affordable. O'Connell really likes him.
Right.
And so there's going to be a little bit more wiggle room probably in what he can command. And so that might open the door enough for him to come back because O'Connell wants him back. Cousins wants to be here.
Sure.
He's already made just a tremendous amount of money. So maybe he would be okay not breaking the bank this time to stay. And then I think you probably do have to draft a quarterback. And, maybe it's, I don't know that it's Jaron Hall. Try it, maybe you try and get someone in the second or third round and see if you can develop and draft them and develop them over the next couple of years to go forward.
Okay. So my thought process is, okay, we have to draft somebody and I want to be aggressive. The way it doesn't work, obviously, sometimes as the Chicago Bears go for Trubisky and now Justin Fields. We'll see how Justin Fields turns out. But I'm saying we trade up to get a top 10 pick. We need a successor to Kirk Cousins. So we draft somebody no matter what. When I say no matter what, I will retract it if, in fact, Josh Dobbs is amazing. If he's amazing, you'd have to make a decision on, is he amazing where he's going to start next year? Or is it amazing? Is he good where he's going to back up Kirk next year? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Do you think he'll be on the team next year? Josh Dobbs? You have to see how he plays, right?
I think I have to see a little bit more, right? Everyone raves about him already, just like the guy that he is. And so I could see a scenario where he does stay for sure. But I got to see more than one game before, because the interesting thing would be if he does stay, you might look at it as, is he staying to be the starter?
Right.
Or, and so then you'd have to pay him differently than you would as a backup. And you wouldn't pay him and Kirk both.
Right.
So maybe he lights the world on fire and maybe you decide, like Geno Smith did for Seattle last year and say, hey, this is our guy. Let's go forward. I think that's a little dangerous. I think the more likely scenario is this is like Case Keenum, where had a great season and you know what? We're not going to give you all the money because we don't know that this is replicable and we'll go try and find someone else.
Yeah, in Case Keenum, he played well. There's something electric about the running of Josh Dobbs, which kind of sets him apart.
It's different. Yeah.
I mean, he's got to be top 5 quarterback, running quarterbacks in the league. I mean, I can't, right? I mean, he's amazing.
I would think so.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No doubt. Case is probably a better thrower than Dobbs.
Yeah.
But yeah, the running element, like when he takes off, he's a running back. Like he's not a quarterback that is running, which is a big distinction. And so that's a weapon. And that's something, Kilby, we haven't had that.
Oh, it changes everything.
Dante had it a little bit.
Right.
But since then, we have not had that since Fran Tarkenton.
I remember Christian Ponder had a nice touchdown run against the Niners once.
Yeah. He ran for his life. Like that's what Christian Ponder did. He was running for his life.
Oh, did you see that throw that Josh Dobbs made to TJ Hawkinson where the guy punched it out?
Yeah.
On the
unbelievable throw.
It was that was amazing. Perfect.
Unbelievable throw.
Yeah.
It was like, holy.
So I can't tell yet how good of a passer he is. I'm assuming he's wildly erratic. I mean, they're guys, it's so weird. I think it was last year, Baker Mayfield at Minnesota was so inaccurate. It was like, what are you doing? I mean, it's fine, but it's like these guys are open and he's missing them. So I don't know. It's such a fascinating position. And I'm dying to see him play against the Saints. This is so enjoyable, isn't it?
Oh, it's great because like we saw at the start of the season, and you're like, is this going to be a 17 game slog to the end where all you're just doing is hoping that they lose enough to get a top 5 pick so they can get a quarterback? That's so different than all of a sudden you're right in the mix.
Right.
And like you have a chance at, an NFC playoff spot. Dobbs is a super fun story and he's doing all these crazy things. The defense is playing great. And all these games mean something now, which is so much better than the alternative of just like, now they're 1-8. Now they're, who else lost? And where are they at in the draft position and all that? Big
Nate's Barbecue, I think, might be closed because Nate Thurman passed away. I was thinking of another place for you in San Francisco. He had a barbecue place, Big Nate's. Nate Thurman.
Love barbecues. Yeah, so I'll have to check that out. I'll see if it's still up.
Tadit's Grill, the oldest restaurant in San Francisco. They have a little something called Cioppino, which is a fish stew. A lot of good places. Where do you know San Francisco very well, John?
Not very well. I've been out there a couple of times with the Wolves, but I haven't spent. And this will be so. I'm out there. I go out there on Sunday, and I'm there for the game Sunday night, then the off day Monday, and then the game Tuesday night. So this will be my first like little extended stay in San Francisco, outside of a trip that I had with my wife after my friend got married in Napa Valley. So this will be a cool thing, chance to get out and explore a little bit.
Yeah, it's a beautiful city. It's going through some problems with the crime and everything and homelessness, but it's I always say it's my favorite city in America. I used to live up there. It's the most European city in America, along with New Orleans, and a lot of cool spots. I wish you well. I wish you well.
You might, you might have to just come on up for a couple.
Yeah, I could actually. I just, I have to make sure this is edited properly before it's Tuesday.
Yeah, of course.
It is time for the Life Gorgeous quiz. Simple questions, profound insights. For Jonny Athletic, Jon Krawczynski, special writer for The Athletic. Have I plugged The Athletic enough?
Keep plugging. Okay. Keep plugging away. I'll take all the help I can get.
A lot of food questions here. Your favorite restaurant in Minneapolis? Do you have one?
Yes, it's an Ecuadorian place. It's called Chimborazo. It's a 3-minute drive from my house. It is not fancy, but
you're not fancy. You're down to earth.
I'm down to earth. I'm blue collar. I'm Northeast Minneapolis. And so, but it's the food is just outrageous. Great pork dishes, great vegetarian dishes, some flank steaks, things like that. They have great wine selection, things like that too. So it is very no frills, but the food is fantastic, and that's the place I go all the time.
If you ever go to Mason Margot, David Fema's restaurant,
he has invited me. I have to get over there.
Mention my name. You may get a free martini. I'm not sure. Complimentary martini, potentially. Okay. Favorite restaurant in St. Paul, Minnesota?
I never go to the suburbs, Kilby. So
that's right. You're a Minneapolis snob.
I am a Minneapolis snob. I'm trying to think of. There was one that I went to. I love the St. Paul Grill. It's a great spot. So that's probably the one that I would go to. And I went to school at St. Thomas, so I spent time over there when I had no money to spend. But if I had to pick one there, maybe the St. Paul Grill. Meritage,
French place in the Hams building, is one of my favorites. And an old school place called the Lexington.
Oh yeah, we had a great
that's right.
time
you were there.
Yes.
That was fun, right?
Yeah, it was awesome. Yeah, you, me, Charlie, Barrero, Rosie. It was great.
Instead of crab cakes, they had walleye cakes.
Yes.
It was great. That was fun.
Fantastic. That was an unbelievable meal and great service.
Yeah.
They took care of us.
And good company. Best NBA arena to watch a game. Now, you probably have seen all of them. I haven't, but I do have a favorite one. I won't say anything, but go ahead. Your favorite arena to watch a game.
My favorite arena to watch a game. I haven't been to everyone. Everyone says Madison Square Garden, and I like it, but I don't want to be a cliche. So I'm going to say Indiana.
Oh,
it's great.
It's the field house, right? Or not?
Yep. It used to be Conseco Fieldhouse. I don't even know what it's called anymore, but teaming with history.
Yeah.
I lived there for a couple of years working for the AP, and I covered the Pacers. And so, a great building, great sight lines, all of the things. That's my favorite.
I've been there when it was Conseco. I guess my question is, do you think St. Elmo's shrimp cocktail sauce has too much horseradish or just right?
So I think it's probably a little too much for my taste,
Right.
but the great thing about the Pacers games at halftime, they would do the St. Elmo's cocktail eating contest, and whoever ate it quickly enough, fast enough. And so you had these people wolfed it down, their faces on fire
that's hilarious.
as they're doing it. It's high comedy.
So I was going to be the cliche because and you have to sit in press row or wherever those seats are. But Madison Square Garden, I've had good seats. I've had courtside and I've also had seats up. But when I was up, the angle, kind of like the field house, it's kind of like the Target Center. The fans are on the court. I like Madison Square Garden.
I love it. I do. I love the arena. New York City is probably my favorite city.
Yeah.
And so I love the energy there. The environment is just great. It crackles in there. And the kind of cool thing about it that I like, Kilby, is you go to Staples Center with the Lakers, and it's a show, right? It's everyone goes there to see and be seen.
Yeah.
Certainly, there's a lot of that with Madison Square Garden, but there's a real Knicks fan base.
Yeah, they know the game.
Rugged.
They know the game.
Yes, and so that's fun. I enjoy that part of it. Yeah.
When the Wolves play there, everyone there will know Jaden McDaniels is a good defender. He plays out here in LA. They go, "Who's that guy?"
Yes,
you know what
exactly. Yep.
They know their stuff. What's your dream place to live in the United States if you weren't in Minnesota?
I've always said if money was no object and I could do wherever, I would be right in Manhattan. Right off of Central Park. I think that's, I'm absolutely intoxicated by that city and by that energy and by being a 15-minute subway ride from the best theater in the world and the best food in the world and the best sports and all that stuff. I just love all that stuff. If I could live in a big place where my kids could run around and stuff like that, that would be my choice.
You have your kids play in traffic. I can see how you feel about your kids, but I will say right. There's a famous quote or a quote. I don't know if it's famous because I have friends in New York and I don't really want to compare LA to New York. I just say, I know New York's the greatest city in the world. And I lived there 3 years. I lived near Central Park on 63rd Street and Upper West. And the quote was from Seinfeld. He said, "Manhattan is like a wonderful cocktail party. I'm glad I was invited."
Yeah.
You talk about the energy there, And I always thought it was cool where when you're on the sidewalk, it's teeming with people. It's crazy. And then you open a door and then you're in this quiet, beautiful bar and there's the glass and you see the people, but you don't hear them. And now it's tranquil and it's fun to have a drink there. Not everything is built around drinking. Trust me, young people. But it's fun to talk about. And we finish up because last time I had you on, I don't think I had this question because you were on a while back. And this is one of my favorite questions. And we finish with it. Top 3 sandwiches of all time.
I love Tony O's Cuban at Target Field.
Oh,
it is a Cuban sandwich.
Is that pork or what is it?
It's pork.
Yeah.
Yep. It's pork with some mustard and pickles and things like that. And so it is one of my go-to sandwiches when I go to a Twins game. I'll pick that up. So I enjoy that. Gosh, I'm trying to think. I'm a big steak sandwich guy.
Okay.
I really do like when I can find a good one. There's a place in Minneapolis called Eli's East right on a Hennepin Avenue that has a great steak sandwich.
Okay.
And so that would be,
we're not talking a French dip. We're talking a steak sandwich.
Like a Philly steak sandwich. Yep.
Okay.
And then I am a big barbecue brisket sandwich guy. And so
you like your red meat, man.
I do, man. Yeah, I do. Put it on there. And so there's a Minneapolis barbecue company that does a brisket sandwich.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Out of this world. That's good. So that's my list just off the top of my head.
Okay, here are my 3. I just want your honest reaction. You will not offend me.
Okay.
Number 1 is the Reuben.
Okay.
I like sauerkraut.
It's not one of my go-tos. Yeah.
Yeah. I like
I'm not a sauerkraut
pumpernickel
guy.
or rye. I like corned beef or pastrami. Reuben is a special sandwich. I like the sauce they put on there. You know what I'm saying? The Thousand Island, whatever that is, Russian dressing. one cold sandwich. I love chicken salad. I like it with grapes, walnuts. I like red onions on there, cheddar cheese. On rye, it'll be toasted rye. I love chicken salad. Your thoughts on chicken salad?
I'm a big chicken salad guy, especially, but it has to have the grapes, and the nuts in it. Like that's the kind of chicken salad.
Boy, they call it a Waldorf. Oh. And finally, here's the controversial one, and you will not hurt my feelings. Tuna melt.
Tuna melt.
Yeah.
That shocks me.
Why?
You are very refined. You are very sophisticated. That is, my mom would make that for me when we were young because we didn't have a whole lot of money. So I'm pleasly surprised.
I didn't say a tuna sandwich. I said a tuna melt.
Yeah, well, yeah, I know a tuna melt, but that's you could do that. So,
I love your perspective on a tuna melt. That you think it's. What is this like from the South? You think it's like redneck or something, or what?
No. I think it's very, very plain. It's like it's not nothing fancy about it.
Right.
And if you say hey, we're having a dinner party and we're serving tuna melts, it's not working. Like people are like, but I like it because, as you know, I'm blue collar. Like I'll have a peanut butter and jelly and happily do it. So, So to have you going down that road, like that's great.
Oh, cool.
That's fantastic.
Well, originally I had a grilled cheese sandwich because they had a restaurant out here called Campanile, which is now Republique, but they had grilled cheese night and they were gourmet grilled cheese sandwiches. They'd make different cheeses with it, and they'd sometimes put prosciutto or ham on it. And and then I remember the tuna melt. They're both kind of fun because, you got a lot of cheese there. There's cheese, on the tuna melt, obviously.
Yes.
So that's interesting. All right, brother. Great to have you on. Proud of you. Fired up for the Wolves. I mean, I'm really fired up, as you know, and so are you. We all are.
Absolutely. No. Yeah. It's like, it feels real to me.
Yep.
Like that's the thing. I've seen a lot of pretenders before and flashes in the pan, but this one feels real, so it's exciting. But always good to see you. Thanks for having me on again, like a repeat guest. I'm honored, so I can't wait to see you again. So
the Life Gorgeous t-shirt, 100% cotton, is in the mail, John.
Oh, I can't wait. It's more than Barrero gives me. So
thank you, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, that's our show. I will see you next time. And remember, young people, I'm proud of you.